Welcome to the Wellness League podcast with your host Ella, and today my friend is Jaclyn Maxwell. Jaclyn was a competitor in jump rope, even competing and representing her country of Canada. She also was a weightlifter and now is a nutrition and online strength coach. This podcast is also sponsored by Tailwind Nutrition. The code for 15% off is WellTail15. Go and check out the show notes for that. So, shall we dive in? All right, let's get started. So, firstly, who are you?
My name's Jaclyn Maxwell. I am from Ontario, Canada, and I am an online nutrition and fitness coach.
Oh, cool. Welcome to being our first international guest on the podcast.
Thank you.
So it's nice to expand out of the country of Australia.
Definitely, yeah.
So let's talk about what was your earliest memory of being fit?
I would say when I was probably 11, I used to compete in jump rope. So I went to school, I went to an elementary school, and there was jump rope for heart. That was a part of Yeah, I figured it's probably like a worldwide thing. So I really enjoyed jump rope for heart. It kind of to the point where I was able to try out for a competitive jump rope team. Yeah. I'm pretty sure Australia has competitive skipping teams. It is an international sport.
Yeah.
Okay. Because there's world competitions and I've seen Team Australia there. And they had an Aussie chant. It was awesome. I know I'm kind of getting sidetracked, but jump rope for heart, I would say when I was 11 years old was my first earliest memory of being fit.
Yeah, nice. And so do you remember where you went from? How did you get from during that competition at school to going and competing for your country?
Yeah. So basically tried out for a skipping team here in Ontario. And there's regional, provincial, national competitions, but there's also international. So I was very successful in the sport of jump rope. I was Canadian national champion for a couple of years in a row, but I also made it to the world jump rope championship. So you go from regional to provincial, and then you have to qualify for national, and then from national you have to qualify for the international competitions. So I went to worlds twice representing Team Canada.
Where were they held, the world competitions?
Yeah, one was in Toronto, here where I live, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And then the other one that I went to was in South Africa. So that was the furthest I ever traveled for jump rope. Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, nice. How many countries were competing in the national competition like that, or the worldwide competition?
Oh my gosh, I honestly probably 20 to 30 at least.
Yeah, wow.
There were competitors from all over. It was really cool. Yeah, like I said, Australia was definitely one of them. There was Belgium, there was Germany, USA, obviously, China. Yeah. There were so many. It was really cool to see, and I don't think a lot of people recognize how big of a sport it actually is.
So talk us through getting there. What does it involve to get to the nationals? What do you have to, everybody knows how to skip. We did it as kids kind of thing, but how good do you have to be and what do you have to do to be able to represent your country?
Totally, yeah. So there's a freestyle component and a speed component. So, and there was also an individual and a team component. So that's how they split the competition up. So you would do a team day. There were 4 of you on a team, and you'd have to do different events. So the first half of the day was always speed. So we would do double Dutch speed, where one person would go into the double Dutch ropes and skip for a minute. And then the judges would count how many times our right foot would hit the floor. And you would rotate. So every person had to go in the double Dutch ropes at one point and skip. So there was what they call the 4x30 relay. So 2 people were turning, 2 people were jumping in the ropes, and then you'd all rotate through. So you'd each get 30 seconds of the double Dutch ropes. And then there was a 3x45 second relay. So 3 people, 2 turners, 1 skipper, and then you guys would rotate. And then we had to do other events, speed events with just our single ropes. So we had to do I don't know if you're, so there was a double under relay. There was a speed relay. So that was the morning. And then the afternoon was freestyle, where you would do double Dutch routines. You would do single rope routines, but you get judged on like difficulty, creativity. It was very similar to the way they judge skating. So you would literally be in front of a panel of judges, and they would all mark you. It was really cool. And then the same events, like they had speed events and freestyle events for individual competition. So day 1 was team, day 2 was individual. So it was like a full weekend event. And then based on how you did, you would place, first, second, third. You would qualify for, I think you had to be in a certain like top 5 or something to make it to worlds or whatever it was, or nationals. I forget how it was judged there, but it was really cool.
That's like a sport that's never spoken about, but yet there's so much that goes into it. How do you train to be that fast? Is it just a lot of skipping, or do you do anything outside of the skipping side as well?
Tons of skipping. So we would like practice 2 hours Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then I remember I did a little bit more extra training with my sister and my cousin. We would go to like a gymnastics gym and train on the floor because there were like bouncy floors.
Yeah.
So we actually had a coach who was like he trained like world-class athletes. So we did some extra training with him, but it was like 8 hours a week of just literally jump rope, and practices were about 2 hours long.
That's crazy. And then did you do any gym workouts or anything?
Yeah, it was cool.
Keep your legs strong and to be able to jump that efficiently?
Yeah, like I would work out on my own. So I would go like gym class. We did a lot of weight training. So I trained with weights as early as like grade 8. I don't know how old I was in grade 8. Maybe like 12, 13. Yeah. I can't even remember, honestly. So I was training in the gym as well to help keep up with like the strength side of things. So, and then obviously like jump rope was like strict cardio. So it was definitely a combination of the two things for sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then what's the highest level you got to? So did you bring home any medals after all those comps?
I did, yeah. I actually broke a record for triple unders. So like the rope going under you 3 times in one jump. I broke a record in 2008. It was a Canadian national record. So I did 171 triple unders in a row. So that was like one of my biggest accomplishments. Yeah, and then I did bring home quite a few gold medals just from like regional, provincial, national competitions. And then Worlds was very hard to place in because there was like such big competition there, but I was pretty successful. Just being like within Canada, like
What kind of ropes?
What kind of ropes?
Yeah. So like are they like the ones we use in CrossFit
where
it's thin wire?
So yes, actually we did. So we had I wish I had my rope bag with me. We had wire ropes for the speed stuff. But we also had freestyle ropes. So freestyle ropes were like a really long handle. So you could do rope throws, and you could like do all kinds of intricate tricks with the trick rope. So we had like 2 ropes. And then of course we had the double Dutch ropes as well.
Yeah, the big long ones, right? How long were the double ones?
Yeah. And then how were they? Sorry?
How long were they?
The double Dutch ropes were like pretty long. I wouldn't know the exact length, but like enough for 2 people to be inside of them. So they were made of like actual rope. Like our double Dutch ropes were not plastic. They were like fabric, and they were like, I don't know if that makes any sense, but it was really cool. Yeah.
And then so from making world records with your triple unders, where did you go from there was that when you started CrossFit?
Yeah, so I basically competed until I got to university, and I wasn't able to keep up with like school and work and competing. So back in 2013, I found CrossFit, and that's when I recognized that like double unders were a part of CrossFit. So I got really excited about that, and I actually teach double under clinics now. I did one today for different CrossFit gyms. So I kind of transitioned out of competitive jump rope into CrossFit, but I still keep up with like the skipping side of things because I do teach clinics at CrossFit gyms now.
Yeah, nice. What do you think about, a bit of a side note here, every year in the CrossFit Games they try to bring out a different style of skipping. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes. I think it's cool. I thought at one point we'd see triple unders, but that's probably more for like the CrossFit Games.
Yeah.
But I do think it's cool that they brought the crossovers into the mix. I have so many people asking at the gym, like, when are you going to do a crossover clinic? I will eventually, but like double unders for a lot of people are still something, that needs to be worked on for sure.
The thing that was interesting that when they were at the games and they pull things like this is that you're seeing the most elite actually really struggling with something like a crossover because they've never actually had to practice that
Totally.
before. And they literally taught themselves before they came out onto the stage.
Right.
It's interesting how it really cuts out you like extremely elite to the people who have like that gymnastics background.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah. And so back to your CrossFit. Did you compete in that as well?
I did. So I joined CrossFit and then did a couple competitions. And then I got to a point, I would say like 4 years in, it was 2017, I was 4 years in. I was really like, I was pretty injured because I was going really hard with it. And I had this passion for Olympic weightlifting. So there was something that I loved so much about like snatches and clean and jerks. So I actually ended up competing in Olympic lifting. So I was like, let's try a competition, see how I do. And I did really well. So within my first year of competing in weightlifting, I made it to nationals. I hit the qualifier like right on the nose. So I decided to run with it. So I competed in weightlifting for the last 5 years, up until 2020.
Yeah. How did you get into weightlifting? Where did you find that the gymnastic side was a lot harder, even though you came from a background of that? Or were you just finding that you were just naturally strong?
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, and that was it. Like, I was pretty strong for my weight class. So, like, for those of you guys that don't know, like, weightlifting is a weight class sport. So you have to meet a certain weight to be in a certain weight class. So I did my first competition and realized how much I loved it and like what my potential would be in the sport. And the gym I go to has a barbell club. So like there are weightlifting classes. So I was attending those and just found such a passion for it. And that's what kind of drove me into to competing.
Yeah, nice. So competing, how much were you training for weightlifting leading up into that? And then what were your lifts range in weight?
Yeah, so I was training about 5 days a week. I had to back off of doing like CrossFit classes and Metcons because it obviously interfered with strength training, the strength training side of things. So obviously over the years, like my lifts built up, but the most I snatched was 80 kilos.
That's really good.
Which is about, 100. Yeah, I did well. I did really well. It was like 170 pounds. And then the most I clean and jerk was 95 kilos. So about 210. Yeah.
Wow. And then in terms of your like...
And funny enough, it's funny that we're talking about this because, sorry, what were you saying?
In terms of your deadlifting, how did you go with that stuff since you were snatching and clean and jerking so much? Did you find that increase dramatically too?
Like how did the lifts transfer over from before, like the lifting I was doing before?
So like, because you were lifting so much when you were competing, did you find that you were lifting maybe like a 150 for your deadlift too?
Oh yeah, my deadlift, it's funny, I hadn't touched deadlifts in years. So when you compete in weightlifting, you mainly focus on just like snatch, clean and jerk, front squat, back squat, overhead press, like jerks, like that's it. It's very like you're only focusing on those lifts. So deadlifts weren't in the mix, bench press wasn't in the mix. There was a lot of lifts that I didn't do. So going back to those lifts, like I was still strong in them, but it's not like I hit all-time, PRs in my other lifts while weightlifting because you're just focusing on those lifts specifically.
And then competing in your weightlifting, how did you go with that? What kind of level did you get up to? So
I got to the national level. I did win quite a few competitions like locally. Nationals was always tough. I did always end up like top 10 within Canada. But it's such a competitive sport and my weight class is a very competitive weight class. It's the 59 kilo class. So, it was good. I stopped competing back in 2022. That was my last national competition before I decided to take a break.
And so you were saying from your teenage years that you were trying to be small and then like that skinny kind of thing that everybody thought that was kind of cool. But then you kind of found CrossFit and decided that, muscles are actually pretty good.
Yeah, that's exactly what drove me to weightlifting. So when I started CrossFit, I was like really skinny, like 115 pounds. I was super lean. I had like six pack, but like I just couldn't build muscle. Like for some reason, I mean, I knew why. I was under eating. I was eating like, 1,500 calories a day, doing way too much cardio, but my lifts in the gym were just not, I wasn't getting any stronger in the gym, and I couldn't figure out why. And it wasn't until, I remember like one day I stepped on a body comp scan and I was just like expecting my muscle mass to have increased, and it didn't. So that's when I actually committed to hiring a nutrition coach, and she helped me gain like 15 to 20 pounds in a year and a half. And that's when like I went from like 115 pounds to like 100.
Yeah.
Then when I started getting really stronger in CrossFit and in lifting, and that's what really like pushed me towards competing in weightlifting. I was like, okay, if my lifts are going up this much, then like maybe I have some potential. And that's when I started to compete.
How good. And so moving away from competing, and you said about your nutrition side, then you studied to become a nutritionist yourself?
Yeah, like I loved what I had learned from my nutrition coach. She showed me tracking macros. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it.
Yeah.
But I had struggled for years. Yeah, I had struggled for years with an eating disorder, and it wasn't until that point, the point that I like hired a nutrition coach, that I no longer struggled with that black and white approach to dieting, cutting things out, eating so little. Like I realized I had to eat to build muscle and get stronger. And I wanted to pay it forward like she did for me. So once I had gone through that whole journey, I had gained all the weight, healthy weight, I decided to start helping people myself. And that kind of, snowballed over the years. So that was back in 2015 was when I started my nutrition coaching business. And now I have 5 nutrition coaches that work for me.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And so do you just kind of coaching athletes at the moment as in terms of CrossFit and weightlifting, or have you got your regular gym goers on there as well?
We have regular gym goers. So like our method is what we call performance-based fat loss. We help people lean out, lose weight without sacrificing performance. So we work with a ton of people who CrossFit. Not everyone competes in our program. We do work with people who compete, people who just do CrossFit to stay healthy and strong. And then we do work with a lot of athletes that compete in weightlifting, powerlifting, and strongman. So it's like a wide range of people that we work with when it comes to the nutrition coaching side of things.
Yeah, nice. So talking about nutrition, what is like some tips that you would give to somebody either just training now for like you said, to be fit and strong? What would you say to them to help their nutrition and guide it forward to like improve themselves and get fitter and stronger?
Yeah, I think the number one thing that we see with most people who are hit like a plateau in the gym with strength and performance is that they're not eating enough. They're not eating usually enough calories and carbohydrates and protein, to be honest. So like those are the things that you should be prioritizing, and to not be afraid of carbs. I think everyone has this fear of eating carbs, but that often sets a lot of people back in the gym because carbs are our main fuel source, but they're also really important for recovery. So if you're not eating enough carbs, you're not going to perform your best and recover. And that's usually where injuries start to take place and you become stagnant with your performance. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I always agree with that kind of stuff. It is really hard to say if you're training at a high level, but even like a general gym goer, you don't realize how much energy it is taking to push through like a CrossFit class. And then I have a lot of triathletes who also listen to the podcast, and they have like the similar problem because they're putting out so much in training. They don't realize how much they have to refuel to keep going.
Totally.
Yeah, it's a very common problem, I would say.
Oh, absolutely. Like the amount of CrossFitters who come to us that are like under consuming it's crazy. Like it's I'd say like 95% of people who ask for our help are not eating enough to support their performance.
Yeah, what's the best way around that? So do you find that eating before or straight after training, or just keeping like a regular like bigger meal times, whether that be like lunch and dinner?
No, definitely before and after. People do ask us, like, how many meals should I be eating in a day? It really depends on your schedule and preference. There's no, like, magic number. But if you're training CrossFit, if you're just training in general, like, especially strength training, like, you need to be eating before and after. You shouldn't be fasting at all. that would be the most important piece of advice I could give somebody.
Yeah. What do you think about the CrossFit season coming up this year? Have you got any predictions on who's going to be in the top list?
It's funny. Like I'm so far gone with like who, like the CrossFit celebrities. You know, people ask me all the time, like, or they mention names all the time, and I'm like, I have no clue who you're talking about. I knew like Camille LeBlanc. I knew Rich Froning, Matt Frazier. I know some of those guys are still in it, but like those were like the CrossFit celebrities that I like. Brooke Entz. I don't know if any of these names ring a bell.
I know they do, yeah.
But like, you know, years ago, yeah, like that was like even like Christmas Abbott was another one. I think she was into CrossFit. There's so many that like I, you know, still kind of follow up on, but like when people are throwing out these names these days, I'm like, I have no clue who these people are. You know?
Name a sliding door moment in your life so far where you've kind of gone left or right to change the future.
Yeah, I honestly would say it was when I reached out for help from a nutrition coach. Because I had like struggled for 10 years with eating disorder, body image issues. And that was a pivotal moment in my life. Number one, because I finally like let go of what I had been struggling with for years. I honestly was like obsessed with exercise and eating clean and healthy. And it really interfered with my life.
Where do you think that kind of unhealthy, well, the over healthy eating and overtraining started?
Oh yeah, when I was in grade 6, somebody made a comment about my weight, and from then on, like grade 6, I was so young, it just snowballed. So like that's when I started like dieting, and then by the time I got to grade 9, so I was like trying to think of years here, 14 or 15, that's when I had a full-blown like eating disorder. I was anorexic. And then ended up gaining a bunch of weight back after seeking out help. And it was like I gained about 35, 40 pounds back, which snowballed into body image issues. And that just like, it honestly just kept snowballing. And I remember when I had reached out to that coach, first ever nutrition coach back in that was like, that changed everything because I no longer struggled. That made me start my own nutrition coaching business because I wanted to help other people. So it was like a massive moment in my life.
Yeah. I think seeking help at the right time in those kind of situations is, really a make or break.
Totally.
Yeah. So coming back to how do you feel now, like with your nutrition and your training, like would there have been anything that you would have changed back from when you were at your highest elite level to kind of continue?
No, I don't think so. Like, you know, I've my training has changed drastically. So like when I was in elementary school, high school, and university, I was like pretty much bodybuilding, right? Just like generic strength training. Then I found CrossFit, so I shifted from like bodybuilding, strength training into CrossFit. Did that from 2013 to 2017. 2017 to 20, I was weightlifting. Yes, I was competing, but after I stopped competing, I still kept up with weightlifting. And then last summer, I actually made the transition back to bodybuilding for the first time in like 10 years. Yeah, so right. I've been strictly bodybuilding up until today. And funny enough, I went to my first ever Olympic weightlifting class this morning for the first time in 8 months. So I had taken 8 months off of snatches and clean and jerks. And this morning I actually went to my first weightlifting class again, which was really nice. I honestly wouldn't change anything.
How'd you go with your coming back after an 8-month break?
It was, you know what? I was fine. I was a little nervous. I didn't know what like my overhead stability was going to be like, but I honestly felt like nothing I hadn't even left. It was pretty crazy. My coach was there, my weightlifting coach, and he was like, dang, like, you know, you still got it type thing. So it was a really nice feeling. I just felt so burnt out when I had to stop doing it. But now I'm getting like the itch again to get back into it.
Yeah. And so you were saying about your bodybuilding. How's your training changed? So what are you doing to train for that?
Yeah, so it's more hypertrophy training. So for those of you guys that are unfamiliar with that term, basically hypertrophy training refers to like building the size of your muscles, right? When you bodybuild, you want to like physically build the size of your muscles. So believe it or not, I've actually gained about 7 pounds since June. between bodybuilding and all intentional weight to gain. So this is like the heaviest I've ever been in my entire life because I built a lot of muscle. So between bodybuilding and eating, I've gained 7 pounds. And Monday, I actually start my first calorie deficit to shed some body fat. So I haven't dieted in like almost 2 years. I had stopped dieting after I competed in weightlifting because I had to diet down to meet my weight class. Yeah. So this will be the first time in 2 years that I'm going into a dieting phase, which will be interesting.
And just explain like the difference between, say, what you're eating now versus when you're like, say, cutting. How different is your diet?
Yeah, so like right now I'm eating around like 2,000 calories, over 200 grams of carbs. My fats are like pretty high, like around 75. And then come Monday when I cut, I'll be cutting about like 200-300 calories or so. And the whole purpose behind that is obviously to just like shed some weight. Now this is a lot lower than what I did when I was competing. When I was competing, I was eating like 2,400 calories, but because my training has changed, like the volume and intensity changed, with that came changing my diet. So going from eating a lot to like eating less.
Yeah.
And just being okay with being more hungry. That obviously comes with eating less.
So going back to weightlifting, so you're saying you have to cut to get into the sport. So there's like a weigh-in. Do you want to just talk about like how you all weigh in? Is it the night before or the morning before the competition, and then how the competition kind of happens?
Yeah, so you weigh in the day of competition. It's a 2-hour weigh-in, meaning you weigh in and you have 2 hours to replenish, and then you're basically on the platform. So in weightlifting, you have 3 attempts at a snatch and a clean and jerk. So 3 attempts to do your best snatch, 3 attempts to do your best clean and jerk, and whatever you hit, the highest numbers you hit for both of those lifts, they put together so that you get a total, if that makes sense. Now, if you miss a snatch if you miss all 3 snatches, then it's considered like you're out. You bomb out of competition. Same with clean and jerks. Like you have to make at least one of those lifts to make a total. So that's how it's scored. And then obviously they look at your body weight in conjunction to how much you lift. And then every weight class has like rankings, right? Like usually top 3 within each weight class is how you're awarded. And then they award best lifter. So best lifter is whoever lifted the most amount of weight in comparison to like how much they weigh.
Yeah. How do you go behind the stage? What are you warming up with in comparison to what you're lifting when you come out? So are you like warming up with the amount that you're going to lift on stage?
Basically, yeah. So like you would build up to whatever you're going to open with. So your openers are like the first attempts you're making on your snatch or your clean and jerk. So you'd warm up to your openers and then you go out to the platform, hit your first opener. And then from there, you can't go back in weight. Like you have to always go up. And it has to be a minimum of 1 kilogram.
Yeah, with that opener, do you go to lighter weight, so knowing that you can definitely hit it so you'll be in the comp?
Depends. So like if you did your first competition, yes. But typically, I had done so many competitions, like I would always open around, I want to say like 90% of my max. Yeah. But you'd all like my max snatch and 90% of my max clean and jerk. But you also want to make sure whatever you can hit, you're confident in hitting, right? Because you don't want to be failing. A lot of people will sometimes bomb out their snatches because they start too heavy. So it's something that you want to be able to hit over and over and over again. So that's where like it's a tricky game to play. We're wanting to lift as much as we can, but we also want to make sure we can actually complete the lift and not be making attempts that are going to be misses, if that makes sense.
How did you go from doing the clean and jerks and the snatches in like a CrossFit style, but then coming over to a weightlifting style where you have to be so clean and literally lock out the whole way, like your arms can't bend?
Yeah, that was tough because, you're so used to, like, I don't mean to say this, but like CrossFit, you can be sloppy and it can count. Yeah. But in weightlifting, they're so strict. Like any bend in the arm when you're jerking is a miss.
Yeah.
And I've seen some really unfortunate misses, like people in competition, and the higher the competition, the harsher they get with judging. So they'll call you on a lot of stuff, even if like you don't show control after you finish a jerk, like they can call it as a no lift. And I've seen someone, unfortunately, Like if you let go of the bar over your shoulders, like when putting it down, they can flag it. So they're very strict in weightlifting.
Do you know Laura is she from Hungary, the CrossFit athlete? Anyway, she just competed in...
Horvath?
Yes. Yeah. So she was just competing in like a national competition. And it was interesting seeing someone like her is so strong in CrossFit when it comes to lifting. But when she went to a weightlifting competition, she actually bombed out because her arms didn't lock out fast enough.
No way.
Yeah, she didn't.
Oh my God. I had no idea. I saw somewhere on social media that she competed, but I didn't know what the outcome was.
Yeah, I was watching it. I think it was like yesterday. She got her first lifts, which were huge. And I think she failed her second and thirds in both because, she wasn't being like a clean lockout. And I was like, that's crazy. She's one of the strongest females in CrossFit. Yet her form is...
And that's just it. So like, and like some people can have a bad day, you know, like the one thing I think people don't recognize is like you can hit all the lifts in training, but like it comes down to what you can do on the day of, you know?
Yeah, it's very interesting how you're literally lifting the same movement, but yet it can be so different.
So different.
The sponsor of today's pod is Tailwind Nutrition Australia. Tailwind Nutrition is designed to overcome the GI, taste, and time issues that slow and stop athletes down doing what they love, from pushing themselves for multiple hours at a time. Tailwind is uniquely formulated to work with the body to be quickly absorbed and efficiently delivered for more energy or more recovery to your muscles, much faster than any other. Tailwind is easy to drink, mild in flavour, so no flavour fatigue, easy on your gut, and brimming with complete nutrition. Tailwind is all natural, vegan, gluten-free, no soy, and no GMO. It's all you need, all day really, to finish any race or training that you're doing. So in terms of qualifying for the Olympics and something like weightlifting, is there a certain weight or way to get in? Do you know the way to qualify?
Yeah, so if I'm pretty sure, like it goes like we have a provincial competition. So we have local comps and then provincial and then national. And then from nationals there's Commonwealth, yes, I think.
Yeah.
And then there's a level above that. Yeah. So like there's like different layers of qualifying that you have to get through before you even touch the Olympics. I think it's like, so like Commonwealths, Worlds, and then Olympics, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. But it's so like it's so hard to get even to Commonwealths. There was one year that I made the Commonwealth list. I think there's like a ranking. That was like back in COVID times.
Right.
But yeah, I've never made it to that point where I could compete. Yeah.
What do you think about girls getting so much stronger these days in like the Olympic level, or how do you watch those kind of events now and see how they've gotten to a extremely strong level?
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's pretty crazy to watch. You know, because I even think about like years ago when I started CrossFit, like, you know, I remember like a 135 clean and jerk was like so heavy.
Yeah.
Even like 155. But like now, you know, you watch these girls and they're just like, some of them snatch like 200 pounds, like no problem. You know, if you want to be really good in CrossFit, like you have to have like a minimum 200-pound snatch and like 250 clean and jerk. Like that I feel like is like just the minimum, you know? So like it's crazy to see how the weights over the years have just like exploded.
It's funny the fact that the weights of the women's is actually almost getting closer to the men's now too. Like the difference between the weights is actually getting
it's wild.
Closer.
Totally. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. Do you think that there'll be one day where you might have like them all competing together because everybody will be as strong as each other?
Maybe. Who knows? That would be quite the sight to see.
In terms of weightlifting, I know that like doping is a big thing. Have you ever come across like competitions when you're finding out other people are getting kicked out for that?
It's pretty rare, like where at least like where I am, we haven't had a lot of athletes like test for that. But I actually got tested once.
Oh, yeah?
It's interesting. It was a very interesting experience. Yeah. I mean, like, I obviously wasn't worried, but it was quite the experience. But, yeah, like, nobody where I live has ever been tested positive for drug use.
There was talk the other day in Australia, I'm not sure if it's gotten to your side of the world yet, but there's talk of bringing out a games where everybody can dope, or like everybody can go on performance enhancing drugs.
Really?
And weightlifting is possibly one of the sports
No
that will
way.
be involved. Can you imagine the weights that people will be lifting if
Really?
something like that is it possible?
No, I can't actually. That's pretty wild. That would be really unfortunate if it got down to that, you know?
I think it would be separate to, like, you still have your Olympics and the records that will be made in the doping games won't ever count, obviously, because that's not a standard level that should be reached.
Totally.
But you'll have, like,
Yeah.
sumo
No,
wrestlers.
that definitely makes
out
sense.
there.
That's, yeah, seriously.
Yeah, yeah. It's crazy. But it will be interesting to watch. As soon as they said weightlifting could be one of the sports, I thought that would be, especially how it's known the effect of, like, drugs and muscles make you stronger.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Cool, cool. All right. So at the moment, what are you consuming in terms of podcasts, TV shows, movies?
So I do listen to quite a few podcasts. I'm really big into like mentor type podcasts. So I'm listening to recently I picked up a podcast by his name's Ed Milet. He's like very motivational. So that's a good one. I listen to a lot of nutrition coaching podcasts as well, being a nutrition coach. So
Yep.
I listen to like the Key Nutrition podcast, Mind Over Macros. I would say like the Tailored Coaching Method. Those are like the main ones that I would listen to in terms of podcasting. Books, I haven't been reading much lately. I'd like to get back into reading. But I would say like those are the podcasts that I'm into lately.
Yeah, nice. And any TV shows you're watching at the moment?
Oh gosh, we're watching this one called Masters of the Air on Apple TV.
Yeah.
It's great. I'm really enjoying it. And then I'm watching this one called Bad Sisters too. I love a good show.
What do you think of like Australian TV shows? Is there anything that you watch?
No, like I feel like I haven't watched probably any.
Don't
Like
worry,
what are
you're
some
welcome
Australian
anyway.
TV shows?
To be honest, most people in
I
Australia
love it.
watch like American, Canadian, or English TV shows because they're so much better.
Yeah.
Like something like Grey's Anatomy is huge
Yep.
here.
Oh, really, eh?
Yeah. Especially my age group as we grew up with
That's
it.
so
Like
interesting.
when we were going through school, like
Yeah.
probably like the end years of school, we were all like binge watching it to keep up. But
Yeah, I watch Grey's Anatomy. I feel like so many seasons of it.
yeah, well, isn't it? Is it 20 this year? And it's just about to come out for another season.
I feel like it's 21.
I think so. Yeah.
Which is
What are
crazy
your
to me.
predictions? Who's going to stay around a little longer? Because not many of them last.
I honestly don't even know who's in it anymore. Like I feel like I stopped watching it like 10 years ago. So like I don't even know who's left.
Oh, not many. There's a lot of new ones.
Oh, really? Eh? Like is like McSteamy there still or no?
Nah, he got killed off seasons ago.
Really? Eh? Yeah. See, like I'm so out of the loop with who's on there still.
Yeah, you need to go and catch up.
I feel like I do.
So in terms of social media, what's a constant thing that shows up on your like Instagram or Facebook pages? Is there like a constant topic that you like to watch?
You know what? I'm obviously big into food, so I follow a lot of like food accounts. Like especially dessert. I have a good sweet tooth, so like I follow a lot of accounts that are like real like dessert places, but also like macro friendly desserts. So that's a big one. And then of course fitness. Like there's so much fitness rolling around on my feed for obvious reasons. Like I'm very into health and fitness. So
what's your go-to like healthy dessert to have?
I usually have like rice cakes with marshmallow fluff.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you guys have marshmallow fluff there,
no.
but it's the best. Yeah.
We have. Oh, you have to go to like.
So I'll have that and then like chocolate chips. I'll put chocolate chips on.
You'd have to go to like an international candy store to go. You have to go to like an international candy store to go and get like
got
the
it.
marshmallow
Yeah.
stuff, but rice cakes are normal.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, so like I'll have that. Sometimes we have like a vegan and it's like a vegan bake shop. It's real and like I think that it's not free as well, but there's a bake shop by us that's like vegan and it's delicious. So we'll usually get like they have these like cookie sandwiches. So there's like 2 cookies and icing in the middle. So we'll pick some of those up and like Nanaimo bars from there as well. And then I have the creamy Do you know the Ninja Creamy?
No, we don't have it. Explain what it is.
You guys don't have Ninja Creamies? Oh my
No.
God. So it's basically like the Ninja, it makes ice cream out of protein shake. So like, if you take protein powder and like milk, or like the Fairlife shakes, I don't know if you guys have the Fairlife protein shakes there.
Nope.
You can make ice cream out of it. It's amazing.
Cool.
It's basically ice cream with protein. Yeah. It's really cool. So we'll make those sometimes at night, and like you can put all kinds of mix-ins in it. So you're basically eating like a pint of ice cream, but it has like half the amount of calories and like 30 grams of protein.
What's your favorite to like mix in together?
Oh gosh. I love Reese's. Putting Reese's in the middle, or like Oreos. I do love, or I have an obsession with Oreos, so I'll make ones with like Oreos in them. But highly recommend looking up the Ninja Creamy. I'm surprised you guys don't have that there.
Like, we have the Ninja mixes, but it's not known to make like ice creams and stuff out of them. It's more like a milkshake blender here.
Got it. Yeah. So like this is an actual like Ninja ice cream maker. So maybe it hasn't made its way there yet. I hope it does soon, because it's worth it.
Just heard of it hitting here.
Okay. Yeah, ours has been here for like a year and a half now.
Yeah, nice. All right, on to the best part of the podcast. So it's called 5 Fast Questions, and the numbers are in between number 1 and 20. So it's you say a number, and it's the first thing that comes to your mind is your answer.
Oh gosh, okay.
It's fun. Don't worry.
So
all right.
Do I say, or do you say something, or do I? Who starts?
Choose a number between number 1 and 20.
7.
Okay, number 7 is, what is your coffee order?
Oh, I'm a Starbucks snob. It's a nitro cold brew with sweet cream and Splenda.
You know, the funny thing is, so where I live in Australia, we don't actually have a Starbucks here.
Oh my gosh.
And so, like, the coffee in Australia is, like, really good anyway from every other place. But
I bet.
Me and my siblings, every time we travel, we always make a thing to go and get a Starbucks from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have a Starbucks obsession. But it sounds like... Yeah, it sounds like the coffee there is amazing, so you don't even need it.
It's really good. Yeah. Well, I think
that's awesome.
Literally kicked Starbucks out. Like, we just didn't want it. This
really?
Like 20
oh my gosh, that's so interesting. That's crazy.
But yeah, Australia has a big coffee culture. You have to come and try it.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Like,
gotta make a trip over there.
There's literally like arguments between different states. So Melbourne in Australia, I think they have the best coffee over the whole like Australia. And so everybody from Melbourne, every time they travel somewhere else, they're like, oh, our coffee is like 10,000 times better.
That's so funny.
All right, next number.
I love that. Let's go 14.
Okay, 14 is, if you go back and tell your younger self something, what would it be?
To not be afraid of food.
Yeah, right. Is there any foods that like you cut out when you were going through that you still can't eat?
That I still eat? Is that what you said?
That you still don't want to eat?
Oh, no, not anymore. I'll literally eat everything. Like... Yeah, there was a time where I was cutting out like everything, but I will not eat something now unless I just don't like it.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, what's your next number?
Let's go 18.
Okay, number 18 is, if you could change one thing in the world, what would it be?
Honestly, getting rid of AI.
Really?
It's just becoming like scary. Yeah. Like the whole ChatGPT stuff and like AI, I would 100% remove that right now, because it's interfering with like just the human connection, you know? So that's what I would change.
I think it has certain things where it is positive, but I think it needs to stop at that.
For sure. Yeah, I do too. It's just getting scary with the things that people can do with it these days.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when the point that it will start taking over people's jobs, that's when it's going to get bad.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. All right, next number.
1.
Okay, number 1 is your go-to song or artist to listen to.
Oh my god, I love country music, so Keith Urban.
Very Australian choice.
He's been like my... Really? Oh, I guess, yeah, he's Australian. Duh. Yes, I got brownie points. I love Keith Urban. I've loved him forever and ever and ever.
Well, his wife, Nicole Kidman, definitely is. Hang on, I need to fact check that. I'm pretty sure he is.
I think he is too.
Yeah, he's it says he's an Australian and American on everything.
Yeah, I see Australian-American singer.
New Zealand, we can't claim that. He was born in New Zealand.
Oh, dang. Okay.
Nicole Kidman
He's a
is from
Kiwi
here,
then.
so we'll just call it that, right?
Yeah, love it.
Yeah. All right, last question.
We'll go 11.
All right, 11. As a kid, what job did you want to do?
Oh, that's a really good question. As a kid, probably a cook, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Like when I was really young, yeah, I feel like at one point I thought about becoming a cook because I loved being in the kitchen. So, yeah, that's what I would say, cook.
Good choice.
Or
You're not
chef.
too far
Yeah.
off that with what you do now. You kind of help people cook better.
No, I would agree. I would totally agree.
So moving forward, what's your future plans for competing and CrossFit?
None. I do not plan on competing in CrossFit. I don't even think I'll plan on competing in weightlifting for some time. I might get back on the platform at some point, but go into coaching. I've honestly thought about it. I stay pretty involved with the weightlifting community, so like volunteering for events. I go and watch all the weightlifting events. I thought about even becoming a judge for weightlifting just to stay involved. Yeah. But yeah, for now we're just gonna start back up with our classes at the gym and see where that takes me.
Sounds such a good idea to have.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, with even the awkward time difference of
Thanks for having me.
A Saturday night over there and a Sunday morning here.
That's okay. I mean, we just watch movies and make dinner. That's all we do here on Saturday.
Because what's the weather like at the moment? Are you in the it's still winter, right?
It's really cold. So like the way that the Canadians do it in the winter, we hibernate, like we don't leave our houses, and then basically from May until September on weekends we're out and about. We're like downtown, we're on patios, like everyone just like leaves their house and the world is vibrant again.
So good. I'll make you jealous. It's actually 26 degrees here today and it's sunny and nice.
I'm very jealous. We're like all counting down. Is it? Because when does your winter start?
Winter is the 1st of June.
That's crazy. So like we're total opposites.
Yeah. Our winters though, like we say cold is like 10, 15 degrees.
Oh my gosh. That's like spring for us.
Yeah, literally.
That's spring.
It's great.
I love it.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. It was much appreciated you jumping on and thanks.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. How cool was that? Who would have thought that jump rope would be an international sport? And crazy how that further on helped her weightlift. Jaclyn was a great guest, especially being one of our first international guests. A big thank you for Tailwind for teaming up with the podcast until the end of the year. Go and find the 15% off code is Tailwind15 will also be in the show notes. So if you have a big race coming up or some big training sessions, go and get yourself a packet of Tailwind and you'll never feel better after finishing your training. And you won't have the wobbly legs after you finish a race. What more could you want? So also listen out for the Try Me series coming out this Friday. We will be talking all things training and race nutrition. Also, don't forget to go and check out last Friday's episode, all about transition. So listen in for a few more weeks of episodes of that, which is great. So why don't you go and like, subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast. Go and find us on the socials at the Wellness League Pod on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and, X and everything if people are still using that. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Have the best week and we'll see you next Wednesday. Bye!